Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. If you're an existing subscriber, thanks so much for sticking with me. I hope I've got some information that you can use. Today, we are back on the 4L80E, and it's time to break this stuff down and inspect it, see what we got going on, and see what needs to be repaired. Again, we know the history of this one. We know the fact that what had happened on this one is it had a fan, I think it was a fan, go bad, and it ripped the transmission cooler line out, or ripped it in two, and it lost all of its fluid, so that's how it burned it up. So we're going to start with the bottom of the case and work our way up. I'll probably break this down in two pieces just so it doesn't get super long. So anyway, here we go. Alright, first thing first, we're going to start with the output carrier. You need to pay attention to your bearings if there's two-sided. This one just a roller on either side. But if you notice, it's got a separate race. So make sure to keep the race with it. What I like to do is if there is if you're doing one that you haven't done in a while, get yourself some great big long zip ties. I just didn't happen to bring any home with me, but get you some long zip ties. They got them at Harbor Freight. And what I like to do is I like to zip tie everything together. There's actually two reasons why I zip tie it together. For one, when you put it in the wash tank, it won't blow all over and end up in the bottom of the wash cabinet. Then you're on a fishing expedition. So yeah, I zip tie all this stuff together, and you know, everything gets a bath to get all the old metal and debris and everything else off of it. Anyway, so pull the bearing off. You got a sun gear here. It comes off. You got a nylon washer. It's a nylon thrust washer, and that's to keep metal on metal, keep it from doing metal on metal. This one, if you notice, has got pegs on it. Those pegs will line up with holes on the inside of the carrier. You see one right there, and there's one up there at the top. And that's where that sits. This one again is a 4-planet set. In other words, it's got 4 of these gears. Okay? So if you flip it over, you can see the grooves on the bottom and the holes in the bottom. That's where your rear thrust washer goes. It goes over the top, because this is your output shaft. So it sits right there in those grooves just like that. So to take this the rest of the way apart, there's a snap ring right here. Alright, get this out. There's a snap ring right there in the top. Should get you a screwdriver on there and pry it out and up. You want to make sure not to distort these snap rings too much. Yeah, and hang on to it too, because it'll drop. And then there you go. There's the bottom half. And there's the output shaft. You want to inspect this bushing that's right in here. Make sure that it's not all tore up. Here's another race that I was telling you about, and another bearing. It's right there. So make sure and keep those together. Okay, now you can take this whole shaft out, but you need a pair of snap ring pliers, which I could have sworn I brought some home. Oh, here we go. Alright, there's a little snap ring right here on top. Guess I don't have to holler, do I? Forget I got my lapel mic on. If you can avoid it, try not to overspread these rings, and you're gonna have to be patient because sometimes they'll fight you, like this one is. There we go. Just a little bitty snap ring. It's not very big. Then you can pull this bottom piece off. That's your, get another bearing that goes there, which is right down in here. And there's your other shaft. Now, excuse me, some of these models, they would have, if I remember right, it was this particular bearing would go bad and this thing would make a heck of a racket in first gear. Yeah, it's pretty loud. But that's all there is to it, and then there's your planet set. So that's your output carrier. Moving on. We'll go to the low reverse. There's not much to this one, just your band. You want to look at your band, make sure you don't have any flaking. This band doesn't get used a whole lot, so I mean, you just basically want to look at, make sure that there's no flaking going on with the clutch material. You know, if it's in good enough shape and you don't want to replace it, it'll save you some bucks because this band's not cheap. Alright, your roller assembly, you just slide that out, and now pay attention to this. See how your tangs are on the bottom? Your tangs go down. And you just want to make sure that you don't have any damaged springs. These little accordion looking deals. Make sure there's no springs broke. Make sure you don't have any really severe burn marks on here. Make sure it's fairly smooth. You got another bushing in here that you want to look at. Make sure that the bushing's in good shape. It's not super shiny and not full of score marks. Get a clean towel here. Being as I'm not putting, I got to get this thing cleaned up yet. I'm not worried about it too much, but you really want to use lint-free towels, and I know these aren't exactly lint-free, but they'll work for what we're doing. Alright. Now if you see right here, there's some shiny on that bushing there. It's not overly scored, so if you wanted to, you could reuse it. Sometimes if you don't have the right tool, this bushing will be a pain in the butt to get out. They make bushing cutters that you can use to get those out, and they work pretty good. Usually what I'll do is I'll try to tap it from this back side here, but you got to be careful not to gouge your housing. You gouge the housing, then you're just kind of hosed, and it probably won't hold the bushing. And that's pretty much it for that. There's nothing to that really. Alright, intermediate clutch. Pull that off there. Okay, on the clutch you just want to look at make sure that there's no burnt clutches. Now here's an example of a clutch that's in good shape. It's, you know, it's got wear on it, but now see this side? See how it's dark in spots? That clutch has been hot. So you want to look at your steels, and if you look at your steels, see right there, you got hot spots on them. That clutch has been hot. So on this particular rebuild, I will be replacing the steels and the frictions. These are called frictions. If you look at that one's got a real good burn mark in it. That one's even darker. That one's got some pretty good burn marks in that steel. The clutch face is getting darker. Okay, this one here you can see actual marks, circular marks in it where you can tell it's been slipping. And again, now you're seeing scoring on that steel and more hot spots. This will cause clutch engagement issues if you let this go. And even the pressure plate's got some hot spots on it. These aren't as detrimental as the steels themselves. The steels are more susceptible to heat. These hold up a whole lot better. So anyway, this one will get new clutches in that pack. This is a wave plate, and if you notice, it's got a wave plate is a spring plate. Basically, it's to help help the clutch disengage. If you notice, this one's got fingers on it, and it goes down. Alright, now to get this piston out of this center support, you have to press down on this. This is a spring plate here, so you have to press down on this spring plate. And what I've got to do that is this El Cheapo tool that I found a while back. I think I'd found it on like Amazon or something, I don't remember exactly. But basically how this thing works, that's your actual press deal. But your little horseshoe or half moon pieces go there, and then what you do is you crank that down. Okay, what you do is you crank this thing down until it just releases the pressure off this snap ring that's down in here. And then just take your snap ring pliers and pull the snap ring out. Again, you want to avoid overextending it if you can. Just release your pressure. Slide your two bars off. Then you take your spring plate out. Then your piston. Okay, here is one of the seals. There's two seals on this piston. There's an inner and an outer. And this thing's pretty dry, but basically just, it's a lip seal, so grab a hold of it and just pull it out like that. And these seals, I can tell you just by feel, are really crusty. I mean, they've got some elasticity to them, but not much. Okay, if you look at that real close, the outer lip of it, you look across it, you can probably see it, but this little deal here is what happens is the fluid will actually go up into this groove, and when it does, it pushes out on that seal. It helps seal the piston. Okay, the other thing I want to show you, these rings right here, these are Teflon seal rings right here, and these are scarf cut, or not scarf but they're a locking ring. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that in there, but right there is an opening. You kind of push it all one side, and you can get those rings out. But those will come in the rebuild kit. This is something important here. Look at your bushing. This is a bushing on the inside of that. That thing is pretty rough. It's got some scoring to it. Here's a pretty good gouge on this side. So that bushing to me is questionable. If I've got a chance to replace it, I probably would, and I probably will. See if I can get one of these rings out to show you here. There we go. Alright. If you look at this thing, it's got a bevel and kind of a place to lock. And so when it meets together, it makes a ring, but those you always replace. Okay, there is another thrust washer in the bottom of this. Don't forget that one. And this is a sprag face here, and it is replaceable. So that's basically your center support. Well, I think we're gonna end it off there for today. That's the bottom of the case. So when we continue, we're going to do from the center support up, and we'll go through each one of those individually. So there's where we are there. That's all that stuff. I've got it all disassembled, and that stuff will all get a bath. So on the next video, we'll do the top half of the case. So until next time, make sure to tune in. Smash that like button if you like what you've seen. Make sure to comment, because like I said, I do read the comments. Hit that like button. I need the likes button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Anyway, Smitty likes the like button, so hit the like button. Anyway, God bless y'all. Till next time, we'll see you. Bye-bye.